In 2002, Ice Age was a huge success for 20th Century Fox, so it made sense that they would want to make a sequel almost immediately. Animation sequels had been successful in the past. There was Toy Story 2, Shrek 2, and both of those are some of the biggest movies of all time. So an Ice Age sequel could possibly be even better than the first. I was hoping that it would be, given that I wasn't a huge fan of the first film. Included in this collection is Ice Age 2 The Meltdown, or I guess it's just Ice Age The Meltdown. I thought I was maybe experiencing the Mandela effect because I could have sworn this movie was called Ice Age 2 The Meltdown, but I guess they only used it for marketing purposes. It's wild that I haven't seen these movies until now. Besides the Pixar films and the Shrek series, Ice Age was like the biggest thing in animation for my generation, and The Meltdown was one of the highest grossing movies of 2006, nearly doubling the success of the first one. So you can imagine that it doubles in quality as well, right? Ice Age The Meltdown takes place an undisclosed period of time after the first movie, with our three heroes living in a melting paradise with the other goofy-looking endangered animals. However, after discovering that the melting ice glaciers could flood their home, a vulture explains that a boat located many miles away could save them all, but they only have 3 days to get there. And no, it's not Noah's Ark, even though I got excited for that to be thrown into the mix. If anything, I admire that Ice Age doesn't hold true to any chronological version of prehistoric history. Like in this one, they mention that the dinosaurs are already extinct, but the next movie is literally titled Dawn of the Dinosaurs. So if they threw in the Bible story of Noah, I think it would have matched the illogicalness of the Ice Age franchise. It's obviously meant to allude to the story of Noah, but anyways, the animals travel to the boat, and along the way, they meet three possums, Crash, Eddie, and Ellie. But Ellie is quite obviously a mammoth, which impresses Manny, who after all this time, assumed he was the last of the mammoths. Can they spark a romance and save their species? Do animated movies love making lady counterparts for the main characters that look almost identical to one another? If you saw my review of Ice Age, you know I wasn't the biggest fan, but I appreciated what it did for computer animation in the early 2000s, but I just never felt that the story grabbed me. Unfortunately, the sequel doesn't do much to improve things. In fact, I'm kind of shocked that this one is even more boring with the characters and lacks any engaging plot points. After the first movie, Diego is now part of the pack, but there's no longer any inner turmoil with his character because his arc is essentially wrapped up. This time, there's more of an emphasis on Manny that I thought was overlooked the first time around, and with meeting Ellie, they do have a traditional romantic comedy back and forth that works fine enough, but I wouldn't say there's anything unique. Ellie is voiced by Queen Latifah, and I do find her voice matches the character, and while I thought Ray Romano wasn't a good fit for Manny originally, he fits the character better this time around, being less of a grump and more of an awkward love interest. Sid still has a few comedic moments, especially with the continued great voice work from John Leguizamo. He even meets a tribe of other sloths, which leads to a lot of fun visuals. However, this is yet another road trip movie, similar to the first. There's still not much to look at in the background, there's no interesting encounters, and except for the impressive musical number from the vultures, this setup is lame. I suppose it's a message on climate change, but given that they don't go into the logistics of why the meltdown is happening, I don't think it's the strongest message. Like I said before, there's not an actual boat like Noah's Ark, but instead a really large, hollow tree trunk that saves everyone for a brief period of time, but it's anticlimactic. This was their reason to get these characters on the move again, even though the road aspect wasn't the highlight of storytelling in the first one. Again, I don't think there's many funny moments, and there's a lot more innuendos compared to the last one, and a lot of them don't work. Scrat gets more screen time and antics, which are always great to see. The best part is when he whips out some martial arts on the piranhas, only because it's a different side of Scrat we didn't see previously. The possum characters, Crash and Eddie, initially present themselves to be annoying, but they are used the right amount and in the right ways, so I guess they get a pass. It's pretty entertaining to watch Sid and Diego try to catch these kids like parents chasing their children in a shopping mall. Jay Leno is in this as well, playing a swindler of an armadillo named Fast Tony. And after his friend Stu dies, only leaving behind an empty shell, Fast Tony immediately tries to sell this shell as a mobile home, not caring at all about his supposed friend. So he's screwing over his already dead friend. Maybe Jay Leno was a perfect casting choice. The animation isn't as big of an upgrade as I was expecting, but you certainly can see more detail than the previous film. It's not on the same level as Blue Sky's Robots a year earlier, but this is a different terrain and set of characters when compared to that. Producing hairs or animal movements or water in the computer in 2006, it was not an easy feat. Everything looks better, but again, it's not nearly the upgrade I thought it could be. At least Diego's running animation looks smooth and realistic this time. There's more prominent shadows and detailed backgrounds, even if for the most part, I still don't find much to get engrossed in. There's not much suspense or adventure. The story fixates on Manny and Ellie. They even show Ellie's childhood, which is similar to Manny's in the original. They explain why Ellie confuses herself for a possum, with a few good gags, but I don't think there's enough emotion, given that their species is near extinction. I thought this point was underwritten in Ice Age, and I still don't find it detrimental in the Meltdown. Manny offends Ellie at one point, after suggesting they could repopulate the mammoths, and it's funny, but complicated. But that's about as far as they go with it. Blue Sky would, again, touch on the topic of reluctant repopulation of endangered species in their film Rio to greater success. They had the chance to do it here, but in the end they instead wanted to do a mismatched romantic comedy, even though they have very little differences that are barely pronounced. So because I find the characters and the storyline to be a bit dull, I don't enjoy Ice Age the Meltdown. It's a step down from the first film, which, I actually felt bad about disliking that one. But the sequel doesn't improve things. I don't know how things are going to get better from here. But there's 3 more sequels. There's even a new film coming out on Disney Plus in January of 2022. There's many chances still for me to become a fan, but based on the reviews, it looks like the films start to decline in quality as things move along. But hey, on this channel, we're pushing for optimism in 2022. Hey, who knows, even by collision course, Justin could be a fan of the many adventures of the Ice Age characters. I could get a t-shirt with Sid the Sloth and Manny and Diego. Kind of doing like a hey. Special thanks to Anthony for this Patreon request. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.